And we're going to start out with a presentation from Accenture. So Sami Luukkonen, Managing Director in Communications, Media, and Technology from Accenture. Sami, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to all of you. So in the past day, we've heard a lot of visionary things about the smart cities and the potential of the smart city, and definitely it's there. But it is a potential that is still ahead of us, so it takes a couple of years before we can really materialize those visions completely. So I took a different approach. So I took an approach to look at the immediate things at hand. And also I took a point of view here to address some of the things that the municipalities and local governments need to do in order to address a smooth rollout of a 5G. We have a good technology experience in the Baltic Sea countries. We've had the GSM and maybe 3G we did quite okay. I think we did a very bad job with the 4G. And let's hope that the trend will now shift and there is tangible material benefits for countries by rolling out the 5G. So let me first focus a little bit on drilling down on the kind of high-level benefits and then go really concrete. What are the numbers and what does it mean for Nordics, Baltics, Poland and Germany as countries? So this we saw yesterday, so cities are growing, urbanization is coming. We heard the story that smart city is the only way how you can manage it, and that's right. So that's the only way how you can manage the human, environmental, and economic development is to make the cities smart. If you look at the cities in China, looking at the making a Beijing a 100 million city, it requires quite a bit of technology, quite a bit of smart solutions, which are being rolled out. But this is a clear thing that this will happen and smart cities will come, so let's not doubt that. Then in terms of the kind of the potential, so the 5G is really the technology that first time unlocks the benefits we can achieve from the smart city solutions. It will create new jobs, it will create GDP, it will create new industries. Actually pretty soon, but let me kind of first drill on the kind of things we have been talking here already. So these are things you heard yesterday. So I won't kind of repeat them. So once you kind of implement the smart city, you can unlock lots of benefits. So not only to enable to grow the cities to be as big as 100 million, but also to make it a livable place and also to make the municipalities and local governments efficient, because with the current structures, there's no way that they could, I mean, cost structures, they could support a growth that we are currently foreseeing. But like I said, yeah, this is long term, but there is benefits on a very short term as well. So this is not the only thing that the municipality should look at is the future, because it's very intangible. You don't need to really do anything now. You need to have the 3 PowerPoint slides to address that how will Riga develop in the next 10 years. That's it, that's enough. But there is stuff in the short term as well. So if you look at the 5G rollout, so when the rollouts now start end of next year in the Baltics Sea countries, so these numbers are now the Nordics, Baltics, Poland, Germany. So the operators in these countries, when the rollout starts, they're going to spend 7 years roughly the time in rolling out 5G. They're going to spend 64 billion in rolling it out. And if you look at very, very concrete thing, which is something that will hit each country, is construction. So when you roll out the 5G, it will require 10 to 100, so from 10 to 100 times more sites than we currently have. So if you put all the 2G, 3G, 4G sites together, we'll need 100 times more. That's a lot of construction. And out of that 64, we estimate that 22 billion is directly for site construction. What that turns into the employment, so we've been calculating that it's 13,500 jobs for the site workers annually to do that. And if you then include the flow-on, so because the guys working in the site, they will require cables, they'll require cement, they'll require drivers to drive the cement. It's actually bigger in terms of the employment. So altogether, we are calculating that just the impact that we have operators rolling this out will generate 32,000 more jobs annually. So there is a direct and immediate impact of rolling out the 5G. So we don't have to wait for smart cities to have something for the local governments or the local municipalities. So they got to take this seriously. Then if you look at the broader impact of adopting 5G, and so I'm not talking about smart cities yet, but just kind of adoption of the technology, that what does it kind of mean? So during the rollouts, we calculated that for this, yet again, Baltic Sea region, the countries I mentioned, it's over 500,000 jobs that are generated related to the technology itself. Then if you think about what 5G brings is the virtual reality, the connectivity that it brings, it actually enables things like telecommuting. So people who are living in Resegne can work in Riga because of the telecommuting capabilities that 5G enables. They are also able to, and I'm sure this is going to happen, that universities will virtualize more and more. So you're able to participate in higher education and retool yourself and certificate yourself and become more employable. So that's the kind of a bottom part. What we've been estimating is that what does it mean for the people who will get the 5G access and how they become more relevant for the society and be able to earn more money. I took some examples of the cities we here recognize that, okay, what does it mean? So there is tangible GDP and jobs created just to roll out the 5G. This, of course, that kind of the numbers I showed, it is expecting that you'll do national 5G rollouts. So not that the 5G is rolled out just to Riga and nowhere else. But I'll talk later on that, okay, how to make that happen, because municipalities and local governments should make sure that these are national rollouts, what are happening in the 5G, even though urbanization is happening. But let's shift gears. So I wanted to kind of still take a couple of examples from the smart solution space. I know there are hundreds of different smart solutions, but I wanted to pick a few that I myself like and which are kind of a midterm things, so not a long-term things that can be done. And the first is in the area of transportation, because I unfortunately spend a lot of time in the car as well and in the queues. And if you look at the kind of the solutions over there, what does it bring you when this is implemented? And you don't need to have very sophisticated 5G yet to implement this thing. But imagine that you would be able to reduce congestions by 40%. And if you imagine that the average size city is 150,000. So in average size cities, the solutions could reduce the fuel consumption by almost 100 million euros per year. Yeah, I would love it. It is possible with we've seen actually in the previous presentation also about the traffic management systems, that how you dynamically can reroute people. The other important thing is this convoy management, which is vehicle-to-vehicle thing. So I don't know whether you knew, but the drag, so that you're not driving close enough. So if you're run bicycle, you know the kind of importance of drag, so you want to kind of run your bicycle as close to the other guy as possible. It's the same with the cars. It's 50 to 75% of the energy is spent on trying to pull through the air. And that's what's happening over there. And of course, the kind of other things are like parking management, which is very easy to implement. that you have real-time information where the parking slots are. You increase the capacity. It's faster for you to do. The city gets more money on the parking. We calculate it's actually 27% that you're able to increase your parking revenues over there. And with the convoys as well, of course, the capacity of the road can be increased because you have cars traveling closer to other. The other area I wanted to, or the second area I wanted to talk about is energy because of the global warming, which is very close to my heart. It's inevitable. I don't like it, but it's an inevitable thing. And well, I think here in the Nordics and in today, we've seen a bit of the impacts of the increasing storms then being more and more severe. And in that space are the smart grids over there. So there are some stuff on the left-hand side what smart grids can bring to you. But I wanted to really mention the one on the right-hand side here. So we implemented to a city called Chattanooga. It's in Tennessee, has 160,000 people over there, so it's a very, yet again, average city. So they are experiencing as well quite a few severe storms increasingly now, and because of the weather patterns in the US. And the smart energy grid solution was implemented over there, which just kind of enables you to reroute energy, identify the places where things are disrupted, balancing the need of the electricity so that you can kind of have a cheaper energy and reduce the need of energy. And the result of that, the outages were reduced by 50%. So during a storm, there is a 50% reduction in the time when you don't have electricity. Of course, that has a humongous impact to the businesses locally. But also, they say 1.2, so there's a mistake, so it's not 12 million. 1.2 million operating cost of each storm. So the business case is that, for these guys, is that the more the storms, the more they save, which of course they don't like, because they'd rather run it as it is. But we live in the world which is about more storms coming at us. And the last one I wanted to take completely yet again is public safety and gunshot detection, which is a bit of a weird solution. So we implemented this to the city of Chicago. And the idea over here is that there are sensors in the lampposts, some of the buildings. And when there's a gunshot fired, the sensors triangulate the location where the shot was fired. It actually, most of the times, also is able to identify what kind of a gun was used. And if there are CCTV cameras nearby, they'll kind of at the same time pull a picture so that the police and ambulances and others, they know what's happening so they can be better prepared when they come on site. And it's lovely that that can be done, but the most important thing with this is that in the areas where this has been implemented, the gun-related crime has dropped by 50%. And of course, you cannot put a price tag to your life. So I think that's the beauty of it. So it's like an alarm system in your house. Putting an alarm system is the way to really prevent robberies rather than that's how quickly the police can come to your apartment once it's been robbed. So those are the kind of bit of the concrete examples over there. And I wanted to go through this just to kind of illustrate the opportunity that is there. So there is immediate, there is a kind of medium-term benefits that the municipalities can realize. But how to make it a reality? And this is the place where municipalities and local governments and governments play a big role. First of all, I wanted to kind of just to emphasize the difference. So I already mentioned, so in 5G, you need 10 to 100 times more permits than you ever applied for. When you want to set up a base station, you need to apply permits to do it. 10 to 100 times of what you've done in the past 15 years. And now you do it the next 24 months. Also, the sites are very different. So we're not talking about 75-meter pole. We're talking about backpack-sized things that you put to a light pole or utility pole or sewage hole. So it's very different in terms of the size, and also the size of that's why we call it a microsite, because the area that it's kind of focused on, which is the so-called cell, in 4G, it can be a kilometer. Now in extreme cases, we talk about the size of a shoebox area. So you need a lot of this stuff. You need a lot of antennas. You need a lot of these things out there. So it's a different game. So the way 4G was handled isn't enough for 5G. We will never roll this out if this is treated the same way as the previous generations were treated. So there are 4 things, and this is the kind of the message I want to really bring. First of all, permits and approvals. I said 100 times more than ever done. So if you look at the permits, the average time currently to get a permit through is 6 to 24 months. There are many cities where a permit average is 18 months. And the reason is that the minimum things that you normally need to do, so you need to go through several tribunal for approvals, and the minimum normally is neighborhood association, planning commission, zoning commission, and then county council. And that's the minimum. And each of them having meetings whenever and having different requirements, and it's like unbelievable. So there needs to be a radical streamlining happening when it comes to these approvals, and it's a responsibility of each of the city. Rollout is now happening in the US, and this problem was noticed over there. So this Wednesday, FCC, so the Federal Communication Commission, overruled all states and all counties in the United States. And they changed the legislation so that a city council needs to make an approval within 60 days, and if they don't make it, the operator can sue the county. So they saw this because how US started up was the old style. So now it's being moved over there. Right-of-way access, that means how do you get access to a light pole, to electricity pole or a wall, because you need a permit to do that. City owns most of the properties where 5G base stations need to be attached in the urban area. The other is utilities companies. So what the cities can do is to pre-approve. So do an inventory of all the assets you have, all the walls, poles, sewage holes, the things you can attach a 5G base station. Make an inventory, pre-approve that. Make it possible that you can attach something, because there are also laws stipulating whether you can attach something to a light post. It needs to be changed. So you need to do it in batch. Let's do it, and bring the partners of the city with you, which are the utility companies, which is another big kind of a partner that owns a lot of stuff in inner cities. Fee structures, and this is the really ugly area. The fee structures have now been set up with the 4G, 3G in mind, that there's going to be 100 sites in a city, so we can charge them 25,000 euros per site. Well, you just can't do that. If you want to roll out 5G, the fee structure needs to be very different. This is, like I said, this is going on in US, and we have really bad examples coming out of US. New York City made now a minimum price for a light post of $4,200 per year. And that's minimum. That's where the bidding starts. So imagine that you have a base station which is worth $5,000 to $10,000, which you want to attach to a pole, and the city is asking the minimum $4,500 per year. It makes the business cases very different, and that will guarantee you that you will not have a widespread 5G network in your country. So you're going to miss on the promise of the smart cities. Similar as San Jose, very similar. Los Angeles doing differently, so they give like $20 per utility pole, but then you need to have a 5G rollout into entire Los Angeles, also to the south, which is very poor. So they are looking at it from the midterm point of view. And the last one is encouragement. So in order to be wealthy and prosperous city, you need to enable yourself with the smart city, and for that you need 5G. So please be easy. Attract operators. The way you attract operators is to make the rollouts easy and economically feasible and accessible. So that's the message. Thank you very much for your time, and that's it.
Sami, because of your work in smart cities across the world, and especially now in the US, just one thing before we move on to the next keynote. San Jose and New York didn't do it well.
No, they didn't, no.
And if we are to harness the potential of the 5G, it seems that the municipalities are the bottleneck.
Correct.
So,
yes.
So the startups, they have this fail-fast thing. So how about, I mean, do you know of any pilot city cases that we could roll out? I don't know, Helsinki or Vantaa or Tampere would start out the way how to, change the culture, how municipalities address the 5G with the volume and speed necessary?
Yeah, so given an example, it's moved back from Asia, and there is a very large city where we've been working together to set up a joint venture where the city put all its assets in all its live poles, sewage holes, and also they took the energy companies and put their assets into the JV. They pre-approved everything, they changed the laws, and they set the target margin for the new tower company, which was 12%, and they will invite the operators into the JV. So the only way you can get access to the property is come to the JV, but the operators get it like that. Everything is pre-approved. They're ready to go. You have the inventory, and you have predictable cost structure because you know the profit margin of the tower company. That's an example of doing something very different, which we should kind of learn from our Asian friends.